Welcome to Nightmare Fuel Stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the stories. The last transmission, I've never told anyone what happened aboard the Hermes. Not the inquiry board, not the psychologists, not even my wife. They wouldn't believe me anyway. They'd chalk it up to isolation psychosis or deep space hallucination syndrome. But I know what I saw. I know what happened to us out there, 400 million kilometers from Earth. My name is Dr. Marcus Chen. I was the communications specialist on the Hermes, a research vessel sent to investigate the unusual radiation patterns coming from Jupiter's moon Europa. The mission was supposed to last 18 months. We made it to month 7. The crew consisted of 6 people: Captain Eliza Reeves, our stern but fair commander; Dr. Samira Patel, our brilliant xenobiologist; James Holden, our systems engineer; Nikolai Volkov, our pilot; Dr. Victor Kwan, our physician; and me. We were a tight unit, each selected for our expertise and psychological stability. NASA doesn't send unstable people into deep space. At least, that's what I used to believe. The trouble began on day 214. I was monitoring communications as usual, scanning for any anomalies in the background radiation that might interfere with our transmissions back to Earth. That's when I first noticed it, a faint signal, barely distinguishable from the cosmic background noise. At first, I thought it was just interference from Jupiter's massive magnetic field, but something about the pattern seemed deliberate. Structured, I ran it through our analysis software, but nothing conclusive came up. Just to be safe, I mentioned it to Captain Reeves during our daily briefing. "Probably just background noise," she said, not looking up from her tablet. "Keep an eye on it, but don't waste too much time. We've got the Europa approach coming up in 3 weeks." I nodded and went back to my station, but the signal bothered me. Over the next few days, it grew stronger. Not dramatically, but enough that I could distinguish it more clearly from the background noise. It was a repeating pattern, 3 long pulses, 2 short, a pause, then repeated. Not Morse code, not any human communication protocol I recognized. On day 219, I brought it up again, this time with Dr. Patel. "Could be anything," she said, her eyes lighting up with that familiar scientific curiosity. "Maybe some kind of natural phenomenon we haven't documented yet. Jupiter and its moons are full of surprises. It feels deliberate," I said, struggling to articulate the unease I felt. "Like it's trying to get our attention." She laughed. "Well, if aliens are calling, make sure to get their number for me." I smiled weakly. Even among scientists on a mission to search for potential extraterrestrial microbial life, suggesting actual intelligent contact was still considered somewhat fringe. But the signal continued, and by day 221, I had isolated it enough to determine that it was coming from Europa itself. That night I had the first dream. I was floating in a dark liquid, but I could breathe. Above me, through what seemed like miles of water, I could see a faint light. I was swimming toward it, but something below me was pulling me down. I never saw what it was, just felt its grip on my ankle, cold and unyielding. I woke up gasping, my sheets soaked with sweat. The next morning during breakfast, Dr. Kwan looked at me with concern. "You look like hell, Marcus. Everything okay?" "Just a bad dream," I said, pouring myself coffee. "Hazard of the job, right? Want to talk about it? Might help." I shook my head. "Just the usual space anxiety stuff. I'm fine." But I wasn't fine, because that day the signal changed. It was no longer the simple repeating pattern. Now it was complex, variable, almost like language. I spent hours analyzing it, running it through every decryption and translation algorithm we had. Nothing worked. But something about it resonated with me on a level I couldn't explain. It felt familiar somehow, like a song you've heard before but can't quite place. That night I had the dream again. This time I got closer to the light before being pulled back down. And this time I heard something in the darkness below me, a voice, speaking words I couldn't understand but somehow knew were important. On day 223, Captain Reeves called a meeting. She looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. "I've been informed that several of you have reported unusual dreams," she said, looking around the table. "Dr. Kwan has suggested it might be related to our approach to Europa and the psychological impact of prolonged space travel. I want everyone to check in with him for a brief evaluation." I looked around in surprise. Others were having dreams too. James raised his hand. "Captain, I've been having this recurring dream about water, about being pulled down into darkness." My blood ran cold. It was the same dream I'd been having. Dr. Patel nodded. "Me too. It's always the same, swimming toward light, something pulling me down." "Same here," Nikolai said quietly. Captain Reeves exchanged a glance with Dr. Kwan. "Victor and I have experienced similar dreams. This is unusual." "It's the signal," I blurted out. All eyes turned to me. "The signal I've been monitoring. It's coming from Europa, and it changed 2 days ago, right when these dreams started." There was a moment of silence, then Captain Reeves spoke. Show us. I pulled up the audio visualization on the main screen. The pattern pulsed and flowed, almost organic in its movements. It's beautiful, Dr. Patel whispered. It's getting stronger as we get closer to Europa, I explained, and it's becoming more complex. Dr. Kwan frowned. This could be affecting our sleep patterns, perhaps triggering similar dream states through some kind of subtle neurological influence. You mean it's getting in our heads? James asked, his voice tense. I mean it could be having an unintended effect on our brain chemistry, Dr. Kwan clarified, like how certain frequencies can induce specific emotional states. Captain Reeves stood up. I'm going to report this to Mission Control. In the meantime, Dr. Kwan, I want you to monitor everyone's sleep patterns. Marcus, keep analyzing that signal. The rest of you, stick to your regular duties. Let's not jump to conclusions. But Mission Control's response was delayed by 52 minutes due to our distance from Earth, and when it came, it was frustratingly noncommittal. They advised caution, suggested we might want to adjust our approach vector to Europa if we had concerns, but ultimately left the decision to Captain Reeves. Science, after all, often meant venturing into the unknown. That night we all went to sleep with monitoring devices attached to our temples, courtesy of Dr. Kwan. I lay in my bunk, staring at the ceiling, afraid to close my eyes, but eventually, exhaustion won out. In the dream, I got closer to the surface than ever before. The light above me was brilliant now, and I could make out shapes moving against it. But the pull from below was stronger too, and this time I heard the voice more clearly. It wasn't speaking any human language, but somehow I understood it. Come down, it said. Come to us. I woke up screaming. Dr. Kwan was already in my room, along with Captain Reeves. The monitoring devices had alerted them. Your brain activity went off the charts, Dr. Kwan said, checking my vitals. What happened? It spoke to me, I gasped. The thing in the dream, it wants us to come down. Captain Reeves's face was grim. Everyone had similar experiences tonight, more intense than before. We need to change course, I said, my voice shaking. Whatever's on Europa, it's reaching out to us, and I don't think it's friendly. Captain Reeves was quiet for a moment, then nodded. I'm inclined to agree. I'll set a new course in the morning, put some distance between us and Europa while we figure this out. But in the morning, James didn't show up for breakfast. We found him in the communications room, hunched over my console, listening to the signal on a loop. His eyes were bloodshot, and he didn't seem to notice us enter. James, Captain Reeves said sharply. What are you doing? He turned to us with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. It's beautiful, isn't it? The signal. I can almost understand it now. Dr. Kwan moved forward cautiously. James, when was the last time you slept? Sleep. James laughed, a high, unnatural sound. I don't need sleep anymore. It's showing me everything. There's so much life down there in the darkness under the ice. They've been waiting so long for someone to hear them. Captain Reeves motioned for Nikolai and me to move closer. James, I need you to come with Dr. Kwan now. You're not well. James's face hardened. You don't understand. None of you understand yet, but you will. He turned back to the console, increasing the volume. The signal filled the room, its undulating pattern almost hypnotic. We managed to restrain James and sedate him. Dr. Kwan locked him in the medical bay under observation. Captain Reeves immediately changed our course, putting us on a trajectory that would take us away from Europa, while still allowing us to complete some of our mission objectives from a safer distance. Whatever's happening, it seems to be affecting James more strongly, Dr. Kwan reported after examining him. His brain scans show unusual activity in the limbic system and areas associated with language processing. Could it be some kind of infrasound causing hallucinations? Captain Reeves asked. Dr. Kwan shrugged, possibly, or some form of radiation we haven't encountered before. Europa's oceans are shielded by miles of ice, but who knows what could be down there, generating energy in ways we don't understand. I think we should cut the mission short, I suggested. Head back to Earth, Captain Reeves looked torn. That's a major decision. We're talking about scrapping years of planning and billions in funding. Better than risking the crew, I countered. She nodded slowly. Let me think about it. In the meantime, I want all communications equipment shut down except for essential systems. No more monitoring that signal, Marcus, I agreed, relieved. But that night the dream came anyway, more vivid than ever. This time I wasn't alone in the dark water. I could see the others, Captain Reeves, Dr. Patel, Nikolai, Dr. Kwan, all swimming toward the light. Only James was missing. And from below, countless pale shapes were rising, reaching for us with elongated limbs. Come down to us, the voice said, clearer than ever. We have waited so long. I woke to alarms blaring. Red emergency lights pulsed throughout my cabin. I stumbled out into the corridor to find chaos. Nikolai ran past me, heading toward the bridge. What's happening? I called after him. It's James, he shouted back. He's taken control of the navigation systems. We're changing course. I raced to the bridge. Captain Reeves was there, frantically trying to override the system. Dr. Patel stood by, her face pale with fear. He's locked us out somehow, Captain Reeves said when she saw me. He's turning us back toward Europa full thrust. Where is he? I asked. Engine room, Nikolai replied, sliding into his seat at the navigation console. He's barricaded himself in. Dr. Kwan rushed in. I tried to get to him, but he sealed the doors. He's not responding to communication. Can we shut down the engines remotely? I asked. Captain Reeves shook her head. He's bypassed all the safety protocols. I don't know how he even knows how to do that. It's not him anymore, Dr. Patel said quietly. We all turned to look at her. You've seen his eyes. That's not James in there anymore. A chill ran down my spine, because she was right. Whatever had happened to James, he wasn't himself anymore. Something was using him, controlling him. We need to get to the engine room, Captain Reeves decided. Nikolai, keep trying to regain control from here, the rest of you with me. We made our way through the ship, the emergency lights casting everything in a hellish red glow. When we reached the engine room doors, we found them sealed shut. Captain Reeves tried her override code, but nothing happened. James, she called through the intercom, this is your captain. Open the doors immediately. There was silence, then a response that made my blood freeze. James isn't here anymore, Captain. The voice was James's, but the cadence was all wrong, too measured, too calm. James has joined us. As you all will soon. Who are you? Captain Reeves demanded. A laugh came through the speaker, hollow and echoing. We are the first to evolve in the darkness beneath the ice, the first to transcend physical form, the first to reach out across the void. Dr. Patel pushed forward. You're from Europa, you're actually intelligent life. We are life beyond your understanding, the voice replied. For millions of years we have waited, evolved, grown. Your minds are so small, so limited, but useful, vessels for us to extend our reach. What have you done to James? Dr. Kwan asked. James has been improved. His consciousness has been expanded to join with ours. His body serves our purpose now, as yours will. Captain Reeves pulled us back from the door. We need to find a way in there. Dr. Kwan, is there anything you can use to sedate him if we get inside? Dr. Kwan nodded. I have tranquilizers in the medical bay. Go get them. Marcus, Dr. Patel, help me find another way into the engine room. We split up. Dr. Patel and I headed to the maintenance shaft that ran alongside the engine room. If we could access it, we might be able to enter through one of the service panels. Do you think it's really alien life? Dr. Patel whispered as we crawled through the narrow shaft. I don't know what else it could be, I replied. But whatever it is, it's dangerous. But think about it, Marcus. Actual contact with an intelligent extraterrestrial species. This changes everything we know about life in the universe. I stopped and looked at her. In the dim emergency lighting, her eyes seemed to gleam with an unnatural brightness. Samira, this thing has taken over James and is forcing our ship toward Europa against our will. It's not here for scientific exchange. She smiled, and something in that smile made my skin crawl. Maybe it just needs to be understood. Maybe if we listen to it. I backed away from her. You've been listening to the signal too, haven't you? Even after it was shut down. Her smile widened. It's beautiful, Marcus, so complex, so perfect. It shows me things in my dreams. Wonderful things. I turned and scrambled back the way we had come, my heart pounding. Dr. Patel didn't follow immediately, but I could hear her calling after me, her voice disturbingly calm. You'll understand soon, Marcus. We all will. I found Captain Reeves and Dr. Kwan in the corridor outside the engine room. Samira's compromised, I gasped. Whatever's affecting James has got to her too. Captain Reeves cursed. That leaves just the three of us. Victor, do you have the sedatives? He held up a medical kit. Enough to knock out an elephant. Good, I've been thinking. We can't get through the main door, but there's an emergency access panel in the floor of the storage compartment next door. It leads directly into the engine room. We moved quickly to the storage compartment. As Captain Reeves had said, there was an access panel in the floor. It was designed for emergency repairs, allowing engineers to reach critical systems if the main entrance was blocked. It'll be a tight fit, she warned, and will come up right in the middle of the engine room. No element of surprise. It's our only option, Dr. Kwan said. We're getting closer to Europa by the minute. Captain Reeves nodded and began to unscrew the panel. Just as she removed the last bolt, the ship's intercom crackled to life. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Captain. It was Nikolai's voice now, with that same unnatural cadence. The bridge is ours now, as is Dr. Patel. Your resistance is pointless. Captain Reeves ignored the voice and pulled up the panel. Let's go. One by one, we lowered ourselves into the narrow maintenance tunnel beneath. It was barely wide enough for us to crawl through, hot and filled with the rumble of the engines. We moved as quickly and quietly as possible until we reached the access point that would take us up into the engine room. Captain Reeves went first, pushing up the panel and climbing through. Dr. Kwan followed, and I came last. As I emerged, I took in the scene before me. James stood at the main engine control panel, his back to us. But he wasn't alone. Dr. Patel and Nikolai were there too, standing unnaturally still, their eyes fixed on nothing. All three turned in unison as we entered. "Welcome, Captain," James said, smiling that terrible empty smile. "You're just in time for our arrival." Captain Reeves stepped forward, her hands raised placatingly. "James, Samira, Nikolai, if any part of you is still in there, fight this. Help us stop this. They can't hear you," James replied. "Their consciousness has been subsumed into the collective, as yours will be. What do you want from us?" I asked. James tilted his head, studying me with eyes that seemed too dark, too deep. "Vessels, your kind has something we lack: mobility. For millions of years, we have been trapped beneath the ice of Europa, evolving, developing consciousness, learning to project our minds across space. But we remained physically confined, until now." "You want our bodies," Dr. Kwan said, horrified. "We want freedom," James corrected. "Your species will provide the means for us to spread throughout your solar system and beyond. You should be honored. You will be part of something greater than your limited individual existence." While he spoke, Captain Reeves had been slowly edging toward the engine controls. Now she made her move, lunging forward. But Nikolai intercepted her with inhuman speed, grabbing her arm and twisting it behind her back. Dr. Kwan pulled the sedative from his kit and rushed forward, but Dr. Patel moved to block him. There was a brief struggle, and then Dr. Patel had the syringe, plunging it into Dr. Kwan's neck instead. He collapsed almost instantly. I backed away, looking frantically for a weapon, anything I could use. But James was approaching me now, his movements fluid and wrong. "Don't fight it, Marcus," he said softly. "It's beautiful once you accept it. All your fears, your doubts, your loneliness, they all disappear. You become part of something eternal. Stay back," I warned, grabbing a wrench from a nearby tool cabinet. James laughed. "Violence, so typical of your kind. We don't need to harm your body, Marcus. Just your mind." That's when the ship shuddered violently, throwing us all off balance. The lights flickered, and for a moment the engine noise changed pitch. "What was that?" Captain Reeves gasped, still in Nikolai's grip. James's face contorted with rage, the first real emotion I'd seen from him since this began. "No, it's too soon." Another violent shudder ran through the ship, and alarms began to blare. The main screen on the wall lit up with warning indicators. We were entering Europa's thin atmosphere, but at the wrong angle, too fast. "You've doomed us all," I shouted at James. "The ship can't handle this kind of descent," but James wasn't listening. His head was tilted back, his eyes rolled up, showing only the whites. Dr. Patel and Nikolai were in similar poses, as if listening to something none of us could hear. Captain Reeves took advantage of Nikolai's distraction to break free. She ran to the control panel and began frantically working the controls. "It's too late for a proper landing," she called to me. "But I might be able to get us into a stable enough crash position to survive." The ship was shaking constantly now, metal groaning as the hull heated up from atmospheric entry. I made my way to Captain Reeves, holding on to whatever I could for stability. "What can I do?" I asked. "Secure yourself and Dr. Kwan," she ordered. "Emergency crash positions." "Use the restraints." I dragged Dr. Kwan's unconscious form to one of the emergency seats lining the wall and strapped him in. Then I secured myself in the adjacent seat. Captain Reeves was still at the controls, fighting to give us a chance at survival. "Captain," I called, "you need to secure yourself too." She looked back at me, her face grim but determined. "Someone has to fly this thing, Marcus." James, Dr. Patel, and Nikolai remained standing in the center of the room, swaying slightly with the ship's violent movements but making no effort to secure themselves. Their faces were ecstatic, almost rapturous. "We come home," James whispered, just loud enough for me to hear over the alarms. "We come home to the dark water." The ship hit something, the ice surface of Europa, I assumed, and everything became chaos. Metal tore, equipment flew across the room, and the lights went out completely. I felt the restraints dig into my shoulders as I was thrown forward, then back. There was a horrible screeching sound, then a series of booms as systems exploded. And then silence, darkness. I don't know how long I was unconscious. When I came to, emergency lighting had activated, casting the engine room in a dim blue glow. I was still strapped to my seat, hanging at an odd angle. The ship had come to rest tilted to one side. My head throbbed, and when I touched my forehead, my hand came away bloody. I looked around, trying to make sense of the destruction. Dr. Kwan was still secured beside me, alive but unconscious. Captain Reeves lay crumpled near the control panel, not moving, and there was no sign of James, Dr. Patel, or Nikolai. I unstrapped myself, wincing at the pain in my ribs, and made my way to Captain Reeves. She was alive, barely, her breathing shallow, and a large gash across her temple. "Captain," I said, gently shaking her. "Eliza, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open. Marcus, we crashed. Yes, on Europa, I think. Can you move? She tried to sit up but gasped in pain. My leg. I think it's broken. I looked down and saw that her right leg was indeed bent at an unnatural angle. Don't move, I'll check the ship, see what's working. James, she asked. The others? Gone, I said. I don't know where. I checked Dr. Quan next. He was still under the effect of the sedative, but otherwise seemed uninjured. Then I made my way through the damaged ship, checking systems. It was worse than I'd feared. Life support was functioning on emergency power, but the engines were destroyed. The hull had multiple breaches, sealed automatically by emergency systems, but the ship would never fly again. And the communication array was completely shattered. We were stranded on Europa with no way to call for help. When I returned to the engine room, Captain Reeves was more alert. I helped her to a more comfortable position and splinted her leg as best I could. Status, she asked, her voice stronger. Bad, I admitted. We're not getting off this moon under our own power. And we can't call for help. She closed her eyes briefly. The emergency beacon, destroyed in the crash. Then we're dead. No one will look for us for months, and even then they won't know where to find us. We diverted from our flight plan. I nodded grimly. There's more. I checked the airlock. It's been manually opened and closed since the crash. Someone went outside. Captain Reeves's eyes widened. James and the others must be. But that's impossible. The surface temperature is negative 160 degrees Celsius. The radiation levels are lethal. Nothing could survive out there without a suit. They're not themselves anymore, Marcus. Whatever's controlling them doesn't care if their bodies survive long term. It just needs them long enough to. She trailed off, looking past me with horror in her eyes. I turned to see what she was staring at. Through the small viewport in the engine room door, I could see a face looking in at us. It was James, or what had been James. His skin was pale blue, covered in frost. His eyes were solid black now, with no whites visible. And he was smiling. Behind him, I could make out Dr. Patel and Nikolai in similar conditions. They should have been dead from exposure, their tissue frozen solid, but they were moving, pressing against the door. They're coming back for us, Captain Reeves whispered. I moved quickly, sealing the inner door and activating the emergency lockdown. That should hold them for a while. And then what? We're trapped here, Marcus. I didn't have an answer for her. We were stranded on a hostile moon, with no way to call for help, running on emergency power that would last a few weeks at most. And outside, something ancient and alien was waiting, wearing the faces of our friends. For 3 days, we held out in the engine room. Dr. Quan recovered consciousness but was weak and disoriented. Captain Reeves's condition worsened. Her leg had developed an infection that spread rapidly. Our food supplies were limited to emergency rations stored in the engine room, and all the while, they waited outside. Sometimes they would tap on the viewport, their frozen fingers making a sound like brittle twigs snapping. Sometimes they would speak, using the ship's intercom system they had accessed from outside. Join us, they would say, in the voices of our friends. The water beneath the ice is warm. We have existed here for millions of years. We can show you wonders beyond your imagination. On the 4th day, Captain Reeves died. The infection had reached her heart. Dr. Quan and I wrapped her body as best we could and said a brief prayer over her. We were both too exhausted, too beaten down to properly mourn. We can't stay here, Dr. Quan said finally. The power will run out eventually, and then the heat will go and the air. If we leave, they'll take us, I replied. Like they took the others, he looked at me with hollow eyes. Maybe that's not so bad. Maybe it's better than freezing or suffocating to death. Victor, listen to yourself. Whatever's out there, it's not offering salvation. It's offering possession, he shrugged weakly. I've been dreaming about the water, Marcus. Every time I close my eyes, it's warm down there and peaceful. No more pain, no more fear. I grabbed his shoulders. That's not your thought. It's them getting into your head, but I could see I was losing him. His eyes had that same distant look that James's had before he changed. That night, while I dozed fitfully, Dr. Quan opened the door. I woke to the sound of the airlock cycling and rushed to the viewport just in time to see him walk out onto the icy surface, where the others waited. He didn't even put on a suit. I sealed the door again, now completely alone. The emergency power was down to 23%. Soon the heat would fail, and then the air recyclers. I sat in the dim blue light, listening to the tapping on the hull that never seemed to stop. In my dreams, the water called to me. Warm, dark, peaceful, a collective consciousness that spanned millions of years. No more loneliness, no more fear, no more pain, just unity, purpose, belonging. I woke with tears freezing on my cheeks. The heating had failed while I slept. My breath came out in white clouds. The end was near, one way or another. That's when I noticed it, a small red light blinking on the emergency communication panel, a light that hadn't been on before. With stiff, frozen fingers, I dragged myself over to it. It was the short-range emergency transmitter, designed for ship-to-ship communication within the solar system. It was receiving a signal. I activated it with trembling hands. Static filled the small speaker, then a voice, broken and distorted but unmistakably human. Hermes, this is rescue vessel Theseus. We have locked onto your emergency beacon. Repeat, we have locked onto your beacon. Preparing for landing, please respond if able. Hope surged through me. The emergency beacon wasn't destroyed after all, it must have activated automatically during the crash, and by some miracle, a ship was close enough to receive it. I keyed the microphone. Theseus, this is Dr. Marcus Chen of the Hermes. Situation critical, survivors in danger, extreme caution advised on approach. More static then, understood Dr. Chen. ETA to your position 40 minutes, hold tight. I laughed hysterically. 40 minutes. After all this time, help was just 40 minutes away. The tapping at the hull became more insistent, as if they knew time was running out. I heard their voices through the intercom again, more urgent now. Join us, Marcus, before it's too late. Your friends are waiting for you beneath the ice. We can save you from what's coming. I ignored them, focusing on gathering what little useful information I could to give to the rescue team. They needed to know about the entity, about the danger. They needed to be prepared. 30 minutes passed. Then I heard a new sound, the rumble of engines, much larger than our ships. The Theseus was landing nearby. The tapping on the hull stopped abruptly. 10 more minutes, and there was a new sound, someone cutting through the hull from the outside. Proper rescue equipment, not the scrabbling of frozen fingers. I gathered my strength and moved toward the sound. A section of the wall peeled away, and light flooded in, bright, artificial light from powerful lamps. A figure in a full environmental suit stepped through, then another. Dr. Chen, a voice called through a suit speaker. Here, I croaked, my voice weak from disuse and the cold. They rushed to me, checking my vitals, wrapping me in thermal blankets. I tried to warn them, to tell them about the others, but my voice wouldn't cooperate. Easy, one of the rescuers said. You're in shock and suffering from hypothermia. We'll get you to the Theseus and warmed up, then you can tell us everything. They carried me out through the hole they'd cut, across the icy surface to their ship, which loomed large and reassuring nearby. As we moved, I scanned the horizon, looking for James and the others, but saw nothing but ice stretching in all directions. Once aboard the Theseus, they rushed me to the medical bay. Warmth began to return to my body, and with it, my voice. There's something on this moon, I told the ship's doctor as she treated my frostbite. Something that took over my crew. It's dangerous. We need to leave immediately. She exchanged a glance with the captain, who stood nearby. We will, Dr. Chen, as soon as our team finishes retrieving the bodies of your crewmates. My blood ran cold. What? We found them about a kilometer from your ship, the captain explained gently. I'm sorry, they appear to have left the ship without suits, in these conditions. No, I said, trying to sit up. No, you don't understand. They're not dead, they're changed. You can't bring them aboard. The doctor pushed me back down. Dr. Chen, I understand you've been through a traumatic experience, but your crewmates' bodies are frozen solid. They've been dead for days. I shook my head frantically. You don't understand. They move, they talk. Their vessel's now for something else. The captain's expression was sympathetic but skeptical. We'll take all precautions, Dr. Chen. But we can't leave them behind. I wanted to scream, to make them understand the danger. But the sedative the doctor had administered was already taking effect, pulling me down into darkness. When I woke, we were already in space, on our way back to Earth. The captain informed me that they had retrieved the bodies of all my crewmates and they were stored in the ship's morgue, for return to their families, he said. I tried again to warn them, but they all gave me the same patient, pitying looks. The poor man, traumatized by his ordeal, hallucinating from isolation and exposure. They didn't believe me. No one did. That was 3 weeks ago. We're approaching Earth now. The bodies of my crewmates are still in the morgue, supposedly frozen in cryogenic storage. But yesterday, one of the morgue technicians reported hearing tapping from inside the storage units. The captain dismissed it as the ship's hull contracting as we adjust to the warmer temperatures closer to the sun. But I know better. They're waking up, and soon they'll be home, bringing with them something ancient and patient and hungry for new vessels. And no one will believe me until it's too late.